Hey guys, I'm Scott and welcome back to my 5 years of MOGAD antibody disease video. And it's been a while since my last video, just over a year to be precise, which funny enough was my 4 years of MOGAD antibody disease video. And as you can probably tell, there's been a lot of change. So what happened in the last video? There were no major changes to my MOGAD antibody disease, symptoms or treatments. I did have some small improvements to my bladder and ability to hold urine, and despite being diagnosed with the condition, I was able to qualify as a chartered accountant around 4 years after my first episode, and at that point I was still not taking any treatment for MOGAD antibody disease. I had been taking azathioprine as a preventative treatment, but my neurologist and I agreed that we try coming off of all treatment and just seeing how things go, and so far so good, there's not been any issues. So it's been just over a year since my last video, and there's been a lot happening. There's been changes to my house, my work, my health, and even relationships too. And a lot of this has taken place within the last few months. And the first thing I want to announce is that I'm hoping to be able to come back and do more videos on MyMyelitis and do much more advocacy again. I'm hoping things are now a little bit calmer so I can get back into a routine, have a bit more control over my life, and definitely come back to the advocacy side of things as I've missed it a lot. I recently was able to meet Julia and Jim from the MOG project as they visited the UK, and I had a great time talking with them in person for a change instead of online, and it really made me realise how much I'd missed all the advocacy work, you know, dealing with like the research papers, making the videos and social media posts and everything, and being involved. So that was one thing that stuck with me, and now I'm hoping that I'm able to come back to that. So let's start off with the updates with my health. Now, my health's been a little bit all over the place in the last year, and thankfully there hasn't been any MOG antibody disease related health issues, but there's still been some health issues. At the end of April or the start of May, I ended up getting a kidney infection. Now, I'm not 100% sure how this came about, possibly due to self-catheterizing, which I'm still doing now, but there was also a lot of stress and a lot of things going on in that time, so it's quite possible the stress could have contributed to it as well. And during this time I was very concerned that this stress might start having an impact on MOG antibody disease and some symptoms might start to appear, but thankfully that wasn't the case. Now, the kidney infection was really painful, not fun. It took around a week to resolve, and that was after trying a few different antibiotics, the first few of which didn't work. I think I just about managed to avoid going into hospital and being treated there. So in the end it was good, but again, it's just another reminder that like health is still really important. Even if it's not a MOG antibody disease issue, you still need to be on top of your health, and that's how I treat it. We might not be able to control the MOG antibody disease side of things, but what we can control is our health. That's kind of my mantra on the health front, is basically look after yourself as much as possible, and hopefully that does most of the hard lifting when it comes to managing this condition. And in general health updates, I did have a really good habit of going to the gym 2 to 3 times a week. That started around summertime last year, and it ended probably around December to January. As a result, I actually put on quite a lot of weight. Towards the end of April just gone, I was around 13 stone, which is around 82.5 kilograms, and that weight is pretty heavy for me, especially if I'm not going to the gym regularly. And now, because of going to the gym regularly, going for walks, and having a lot better control on my diet, I've actually been able to lose 2 stone, which is equivalent to around 12.7 kg since April. And this weight loss has obviously had a great impact on my life. I feel much more healthier, more energetic, and it's just a good excuse to get out for walks when the weather's like this. You don't get it very often like this in the UK, and the spring we've had is really, really warm. I think today we're at 29 degrees Celsius, so not too sure what that is in Fahrenheit, but for the UK, that's really, really warm. So overall, my health has improved quite a lot within the last few months, and I'm hoping this will continue. Now, the next update that I have is the house, and as most of you guys will probably know, that I'm not in my usual recording location, and that's because I've moved out and moved into my own home. So I originally put in the offer for this house at the end of August, and it took a really long time for the deal to finally go through and complete and get the keys. That happened around like the end of February, and then I moved in early March. Now, this house purchase has basically enabled me to be much more independent. For example, I now have much better control over my diet and my routine, which has helped a lot with the weight loss and my health in general. And it's also given me a great project to work on. Now, this house does need a little bit of work, as you can probably tell, like this room is still pretty bare and definitely needs some decorating. But for the moment, I'm focusing on the outside of the house, so I've had the chimney, bits of the roof fixed. There's still some other external things first to get resolved before I can start properly decorating. So bear with me with this filming space. This project's gonna probably take quite a while. It's gonna probably go into like next year, but it's just gonna be something fun that I can chip away at over time and really make this house like a great environment for me to live in and a great environment to manage living with the condition. So the next update I have is regarding my work and my job. So around about a year ago, I was promoted to a senior partner role within the NHS. And the chartered accountant qualification that I talked about in the last episode contributed a lot to this. Now this role actually works a lot with digital technology within the National Health Service, which is particularly interesting to me as I actually use a lot of it, but it has come with more responsibility and, I'm not gonna lie, a lot more stress, which is important to mention. So March and April are actually the two busiest months generally if you work in finance. It's the end of the financial year, so that often comes with a lot of work, a lot of really tight deadlines to get everything ready and for the year-end reports to basically be published. And the March and April just gone was my first year-end reporting in this new role. And then we go from year-end reporting into budget setting for the next financial year. And now all this was a big challenge, but thankfully my colleagues and I managed to pull through, and the area I basically represent, we managed to land the financial position pretty well, and budget setting went fairly okay, to say that there's been lots of financial pressure in the NHS. So the next thing I have to talk about is relationships. Now during this last year, I was actually in a relationship for most of this time, and the reason I'm bringing this up, it was the first serious relationship I've had since being diagnosed with MOGAD antibody disease. Now unfortunately this relationship did not work out, but there was lots of really interesting lessons I learned, as well as how MOGAD antibody disease can actually affect relationships. Now, despite my advocacy efforts online, I'm actually not the biggest fan in bringing up my condition, unless it's in a situation that makes sense. This relationship actually made me think about how I want to address the condition going forwards. I've always said that I never want this condition to be the highlight of my life, but at the same time, it does deserve some recognition and appreciation. Whilst this condition is the worst thing that's happened in my life, it's also encouraged me to take on and succeed at my biggest challenges. So it doesn't make sense to completely hide it. And going forwards, bring up this condition in my future relationships is going to be something I'm going to do a lot more often and be a lot more serious about it than what I did in the previous one. Now, I'm curious to see how MOGAD antibody disease has actually impacted other people's relationships. So if you're happy to share, please leave a comment in the section below, or you can drop me a message in the MyMyelitis community Discord or on social media. So whilst that's all been going on, you must be wondering, how have I been able to keep my stress under control? I believe that stress has a really big impact on MOGAD antibody disease and its symptoms. So all this that's happened in the last year has obviously had a negative impact on that. A habit I've recently picked up is giving myself time off work each quarter to relax and rest. And during this week, I would treat myself. Usually that involves going to a spa for flotation and a massage. Now, I also use this method each week to block out some time for activities that I really enjoy and find relaxing, such as playing video games or reading. And over the last year or so, I recently started streaming myself achievement hunting on video games, and this has made the hobby even more fun and rewarding. I stream on twitch.tv under the channel name iTarps. Now, I'll leave a link to this channel down in the video description below. So if you're interested, feel free to give me a follow, and whenever I'm live, feel free to come in and chat about anything. It can be MOGAD antibody disease related or something else. It's usually pretty chill. If you've made it this far, a big thank you from me for watching this video all the way through. It really means a lot to me, and I hope that I can grow this channel even more so that we can help as many people as possible diagnosed with this condition. I have some really exciting things planned for MyMyelitis, so make sure that you're subscribed to this channel, the MyMyelitis email list, and part of the MyMyelitis community Discord. I'll leave a link to these in the video description below, and I'll be seeing you again really soon.